Ms. Zondi, you're still under oath?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Doberman?
Thank you, my lord. Ms. Zondi, I just want to revisit your timeline briefly this morning. Your timeline of events, how they unfolded over the years. And I want to make sure that I understand you correctly and I'm clear on your evidence. If I understand you correctly, these sexual assaults commenced in 2010, is that correct?
Yes.
And they commenced at the Mission House in Westridge, is that correct?
Yes.
And you were 14 years of age at the time.
Yes.
Are you certain about those facts?
Very certain.
Just remind us, when did the first sexual assault take place, more or less? When in 2010?
2010.
When in 2010?
It happened in 2010.
Yes, I understand. In what month? Can you tell the court?
I can't remember.
Was it at the beginning of the year, middle of the year, towards the end of the year?
I can't remember.
You can't remember.
Yes.
It was after your birthday.
Yes.
Can you tell me how many times you were sexually molested in 2010?
Multiple times.
Multiple times.
Yes.
Repeatedly.
Yes.
In 2010.
Yes.
And did those assaults take place at Westridge, inter alia?
Yes.
Were you assaulted at other locations at all during 2010?
I can't remember.
You can't remember. Were most of the assaults perpetrated at Westridge?
Most of them.
Most
but as
of
I
them.
said before, the man travelled all over South Africa.
Yes.
So wherever the crusades were at that particular time, I would go and he would assault me there.
Right. And when he was not attending a crusade, he would be in Durban, if I understand you correctly.
Most probably.
Beg your pardon?
Most likely, yes.
But don't you know? Didn't you find him there?
I didn't keep tabs on the man's every move. So, yes.
How many
Same time.
times in 2010 did you travel to Durban
I
and
have
stay at Westridge?
multiple times. Sir.
Multiple times.
Yes.
And are you quite sure about that?
Yes.
And apart from the first occasion that you went there, on all the other occasions that you travelled to Durban and to Westridge during 2010, accused number one sexually molested you. Is
Yes.
that correct?
Yes. Except when I was on my menstrual cycle.
Right. How do you remember that these things happened in 2010?
It's not something that you forget.
So you couldn't be mistaken as to the year.
No.
You're certain on the year.
Yes, I am.
Ma'am, I want to show a lease agreement to you. I'll hand the document to you. I'll hand a copy to my learned friend for his use. You said you don't know the number of the street in respect of Westridge,
Yes.
correct? But it is in Umhlanga.
Yes.
All right, ma'am, just have a look at that lease agreement. You will see the lessor's name is given as Lucille Eunice Jackson. And if you go down to lessee, you'll see the lessee's name is given as Timothy Omotoso. Do you see that?
Yes.
And if you go down to paragraph E, you see the property address, in other words, the leased property is given as 16 Westridge Road, Mhlanga Ridge. Do you see that?
Yes.
I'm instructed that that is the address of the mission house.
Yes.
Now if you go over the page to page 2 of the document, you will see there that in paragraph H, the lease period is given as 24 months. Do you see that?
Yes.
And you see the lease start date is given as 1 February 2011. You see that? And you see the lease end date is given as the 31st of January 2013.
I see that.
Now, ma'am, my instructions are that this is the only lease agreement that accused number 1 concluded in respect of that property, and that he only took occupation of the property after this lease agreement was concluded.
Is that so?
Beg your pardon?
I was at that house in 2010.
He says that under no circumstances was he in occupation of the house before the 1st of February 2011. And the defense will lead evidence to that to confirm that fact. The lease agreement was from then, that is the 1st of February 2011, so your version cannot be true, that he was in occupation of that property in 2010 and that he molested you during 2010 on those premises. Could you be mistaken, ma'am?
Not in the slightest.
Well, I put it to you that your version that you stayed at that house during 2010 and that you were molested and or sexually assaulted by accused number 1 in that house during that period cannot possibly be true, because he was not in occupation and or using that house during 2010. And this lease agreement supports his version.
I do believe that lease agreements are renewed. So this could be a renewed lease agreement. I will never forget where he first assaulted me. It was 2010 at Westridge.
All right, ma'am. You testified that you managed to leave the church during 2013, correct?
My mother pulled me out, yes.
Yes. And you did not die and nothing happened to you as a consequence thereof?
Yes.
Yes. There were no repercussions?
None whatsoever.
None whatsoever. You weren't threatened after you had left?
I was.
You were?
Yes.
But ultimately there were no repercussions and you were fine. You carried on with your life, correct?
Yes, I did. As affected as I was by everything,
Yes.
I carried on.
You must have been very relieved that you were able to break off all contact with this beast of a man, this molester.
Indeed.
Indeed. You, in your own words, had been molested regularly and repeatedly for the prior 2.5 years approximately. Correct?
Yes.
Apart from the first occasion when you say accused number 1 pushed you onto the bed and got on top of you and molested you, He never forced you to do, physically, to do anything after that. Is that correct?
No.
He also never coerced you to do anything. Do you agree?
I disagree.
Why do you disagree?
He groomed a 14-year-old to be his sex slave. So that is why I disagree.
Is it not your version that he asked you to perform certain acts, which I won't go into?
Yes, he did.
He did?
Knowing very well that I'd follow his every instruction.
Yes.
Yes.
So he requested you to perform these acts with him, these sexual acts.
Commanded. More like.
Commanded.
Yes.
How did he command you?
As I said yesterday, the man was very demanding. Every time I went up to him, he would say, "Do something!" Exclamation mark.
Right. And you basically consented by going ahead and doing it, did you not?
No judgment. I am objecting to this question because the witness has answered this so many times that she was caught between the rock and the place. She was afraid of him. I think this question was answered long time ago, and now it is getting boring.
Mr. Doberman?
I'm not bored. He might be bored with the question. The question hasn't been answered. I haven't asked this question. I haven't cross-examined this witness properly
go
on
ahead
the
and ask
issue
the
of
question.
consent.
You may go ahead and ask the question.
And what is it?
Thank you, Mr. Deba.
Ma'am, when he commanded you or gave you an instruction to perform those acts with him, as you put it, you obliged, you carried out the instruction, correct?
I did as I was told,
Yes.
but I was not of legal age.
Ma'am, we're not talking about legal age. You did as you were told,
Yes.
without any protest from yourself.
I couldn't protest against him, no.
I can't hear you.
I couldn't protest against him, so
Yes,
no.
Ma'am, I just want to know whether you protested or not.
I said I couldn't protest against him, so no.
So no, thank you. Every time you went to his room, you knew what was going to happen on your version.
Yes.
You knew what you had to do.
Yes.
So I take it he didn't have to tell you every time what to do or instruct you what to do. You knew what to do. Is that correct?
After he made his request clear, I knew what to do.
After he made his request clear on the first occasion,
Yes.
you knew what to do on every occasion after that.
Yes.
He didn't have to request you again to do this and that. You knew what to do and you went ahead and you did it.
Yes. The sequence was the same.
Yes. You knew why he had called you to his room.
Yes.
And on all those subsequent occasions, on every single one, you didn't protest at any stage. Correct?
No, I didn't.
So is it correct that only on the first occasion he instructed you what to do? Is that correct? And after that you knew what to do?
Yes, there were incidents when perhaps he could see that I didn't want to, and he would go and rebuke me. So when he saw that I was kind of slipping away from his grip, he would reinforce his grip over my life and continue to rebuke me and threaten me and say that God is not pleased with the way I'm behaving.
Right.
So every now and again he had to pull me back.
Do you understand what coerce means?
Can you explain it to me?
Beg your pardon?
Could you please explain it to me?
Coerce means compel by way of threats.
Then I understand.
You understand?
Yes.
Or by way of applying pressure and so on.
Yes.
Did he coerce you to come to his room?
Yes.
How did he do that?
The man would say, Cheryl, you know what to do to me. You know what you should do to me. You know the things you're supposed to be doing to me, and you're not doing them. And God is not pleased.
So he told you initially what he wants you to do.
Yes.
Right. All right, let's go back to the time when you left the church. You were saying that you had totally broken free from the church.
I cut off all communication
Yeah.
with him
Yeah.
and members of the ministry, except for 2 ladies. One that was still in the girl band after I left, and another who replaced me after I left.
You know Cindy?
Yes.
Was she in the group with you? The singing
Yes.
group?
She was.
Which group?
Grace Galaxy.
Grace Galaxy. Right, so by this time you are now in Gauteng, correct?
Yes.
Which is quite far from Durban.
Yes.
And you're safe with your mother there.
Yes.
And you're attending school, I take it?
Yes.
Were you happy to be permanently back home
Yes.
and away from the church and away from accused number 1?
Yes. Although I was still anxious, like waiting for something bad to happen to me, I was happy.
Right. And this went on for 2 years?
Yeah, 2013, 2014, some of 2015.
Well, it was from the beginning of 2013. You
Yes.
left the church at the beginning of 2013, correct?
Yes, early 2013.
In what month, can you say?
February.
February.
If I'm not mistaken, but it was before my birthday.
Right, so for the rest of 2013, you at home with no contact with the church. 2014, the whole year you are not in contact with the church, is that correct?
Yes.
For accused number 1.
Yes.
And then something happened in 2015.
Yes.
That's when you came back to the church.
Yes, I did.
But in the meantime, you attempted to take your own life, you said.
Yes, 2014.
Why was that?
I'd been diagnosed with depression.
Beg your pardon?
I was depressed.
You were depressed. Right. All right. In what circumstances did you come back to the church? How did that happen?
As I had explained, I was still talking to Cindy.
I can't hear you, man. Can you speak up?
As I
please?
had explained, I had been talking to one of the ladies who had remained in the girl band after I left. And I was talking to the lady who had replaced me after I left. I kept in contact with them and I asked them how things were going in the church. They told me things had changed. They told me that he had changed. And at the time, for myself, I needed closure. I needed to hear this man tell me he was sorry for what he did. So I went back to the church. It came about, as I explained, on the phone call that was on loudspeaker. The plane ticket was organized from Joburg to Port Elizabeth because that's where they were at the time.
So who told you that things had changed and that he had changed?
Vicky and Cindy.
But they didn't know anything about these sexual assaults that were perpetrated on you. Not so.
We didn't talk about things directly. I told them, you guys probably know why I left. And if those things are still happening, I don't want to come back. And they told me that he changed. Those things that made me leave, those were the words.
Those were the words you used?
Those were the words that were used between us, yes.
You didn't discuss what those things were?
No. But I remember Vicky told me she knew what I was talking about.
Right. So they told you things had changed and he had changed?
Yes.
What else did they tell you?
That he changed and things had changed.
Did they say that those things weren't happening anymore?
Yes.
And did you want to pursue your singing career further? Is that not one of the reasons why you wanted to go back to the church?
I continued pursuing a singing career without him after I left the church, so my main thing was closure. I needed closure on my part.
You needed closure.
Yes.
So I just want to get this clear. You did not want to go back to start singing in the group again or singing in the church or with a view to joining the church again. Is that your evidence?
I did explain that I missed singing with my friends. I missed singing with them, but that was not the main objective. I needed closure.
Was that one of the objectives?
Yes, I missed singing with them, and I wanted to.
Did you want to join the church again?
Yes.
So it wasn't just for closure?
I mean, you have to be a part of the church if you want to sing with the group, so yes.
So there are two reasons why you wanted to join the church. One, to get closure, and secondly, to sing in the church again as a member of the band.
Sing with
Or
my group.
member of the girl group, correct?
Yes.
And you knew that that would require you to be involved with accused number one again.
Yes.
He would no doubt play music in the church again, he would compose music for you, he would be mentoring you again. You would have to attend crusades, you would have to stay in mission houses again.
When I went to Port Elizabeth, I was under the impression that I'd be staying for the duration of that particular crusade. As I mentioned before, I then realized that a return flight from Port Elizabeth back to Joburg was not booked for me. So I had to go to Durban with them.
All right, so are you saying that at the time you decided to come to Port Elizabeth, you didn't have joining the church in mind? You just wanted to go to that crusade. Is that what you're saying?
I missed singing with my girl band, but I did not think that I would be staying further after the crusade. That's what I'm saying.
That's what you're saying. And you wanted closure.
Yes.
All right, how was coming to Port Elizabeth going to give you closure?
I was going to see him, and in my head, he was going to apologize to me.
How old were you at the time?
19.
19. What made you think he's going to apologize?
Because in my heart of hearts, I thought maybe he understands what he did was wrong. And that I deserve an apology from him.
Right. Weren't you worried that you were going to be caught up with him again and come under his spell again?
I was. I mean, he always had a hold over me that I can't deny. But I wanted to believe that he's going to give me that apology.
Ma'am, would an apology have sufficed for you? A mere apology. The man has raped you repeatedly for a period of 2.5 years.
It's
And all you wanted was an apology. Is that what you're suggesting?
That's not all I want. I didn't say that's all I wanted.
Or what else did you want?
I wanted an apology. It certainly would have helped to hear him admit that what he did to me was wrong.
Yes. How would that have helped you?
It would have given me closure.
But you knew it was wrong. Why did you need him to tell you that it's wrong? Or to admit to you that it's wrong? Just doesn't make sense, man.
Closure, as I said.
How would that give you closure? The fact that you had been raped would have remained. You would not have got any redress.
May I object, my lord? She has already answered this question, that to her, it was enough.
No, I think Mr. Toberman wants to know what she means or about closure. What is it? She can explain what closure meant to her.
As a court, please, my lord.
And I think she's capable of answering it.
As a court, please, my lord.
You may carry on, Mr.
Thank you, Move. Ma'am, how could you possibly have got closure from a mere apology from this monster?
When someone does something horrible to you, you want an apology from them because you know you deserve it. That would have given me closure. Hearing this man, this high and mighty man, telling me that he is sorry for what he did to me, would have given me closure.
Would that have been sufficient for you?
I never got it, so I don't know.
Did you think it would be sufficient for you?
It would have given me some closure.
What do you mean by closure? Do you mean that you could have put everything behind you once he had apologized?
I don't think so.
Well, what do you mean by closure?
So I think I just explained what I mean by closure.
Ma'am, you haven't explained what you meant by closure. I just want to understand what you mean by closure. Do you mean that once he had apologized, you would have been able to put everything that happened to you behind you?
I don't know. I never got the closure that I wanted, so I don't know how things would have panned out if he apologized.
You never asked him to apologize, correct?
I told him that what he did to me, I did not like. And I asked him, why was it so necessary? Why is it so necessary for you to do this? And he told me, there's no other option. It's either I'm in or out. That's what his response was.
Please just answer the question. Did you at any stage request an apology from him?
No. I didn't say I want you to apologize to me.
Thank you. Do you agree that you actually had no idea what's going to happen in PE when you come to PE for this crusade?
I don't know what the future holds, so I didn't know it was going to happen, but I believed that he might apologize.
Did it not occur to you that he might rape you again, man?
I had those suspicions, sir, but I dismissed them.
Why did you dismiss them?
I needed closure.
So for the sake of apology, for the sake of receiving an apology from accused number 1, which you say would have given you closure, you effectively ran the risk of being raped by him again by coming to Port Elizabeth. Is that not the position?
Trauma affects people in funny ways. Yes.
You appreciated that you were running the risk of being raped by this man. if you come to Port Elizabeth. Do you agree with that?
I wouldn't say I appreciated it, but I understood.
Let me put it this way. You foresaw that you might be raped by him if you come to Port Elizabeth
I had suspicions.
to
Yes.
the crusade.
Yes.
You entertained that suspicion.
No, I did not entertain it. I dismissed it.
You did have that suspicion.
Yes.
Did you have a suspicion that he might seek to dominate you again
Yes, but I
and
wanted to
threaten
believe.
you should you see him?
Yes. But I thought
Did
he
you?
changed.
Did you?
I'm saying, but I thought he changed.
Yes.
I wanted to believe that he changed.
That I also can't understand. Why would you want to believe that he had changed? Why did you have to make any assumptions in his favor?
Because I try to see the goodness in everyone. That's just the kind of person I am.
Man, that cannot possibly be true.
That's
This
it.
man had raped you on your version over a period of 2.5 years.
Yes.
And you suggesting to this court that you still wanted to see the good in him. Is that what you are saying, man?
That's what I'm saying.
I put it to you that that cannot possibly be true. It cannot be possibly true that you wanted to see him in a favorable light. You are not telling the truth when you say that.
Yes, sir. Any response to that?
I am telling the truth.
Would you have accepted his apology if he had apologized?
I don't know, sir. I needed to hear him say those words. That he was sorry.
What did you care whether he was sorry or not?
It matters when someone hurts you and they come back and say they're sorry.
How would that have helped you if he had said, look, I'm sorry that I raped you over a period of 2.5 years on multiple occasions?
If
How,
I'd
how would
gotten-
that possibly accept you?
If
Sorry,
I'd
how
gotten
would
that
that possibly help you?
If I'd gotten that apology, I'd be able to give you some finer details, but I never got that apology, as I said.
You would have been able to give him finer
Give you
details.
some details about how I would have felt if I got that apology. At present, I have not received an apology, so I don't know how it feels for him to be sorry for what he did.
Did you have to tell him, or did you want to tell him how you felt about the whole thing?
I told him.
Is
And
that
he
one-
didn't care.
Was that one of your aims when you came to Port Elizabeth? You wanted to tell him how you felt about what had happened,
Yes, and I did.
and you did.
Yes.
Seems as though you weren't scared of him anymore when you came to Port Elizabeth. Is that correct?
He always had a hold on me, as I said a little while ago. So I was still scared of him at 19.
So when you came to Port Elizabeth, you were still scared of him.
Yes.
When you were staying with your mother in Gauteng, after you had left the church, for a long period, more than a year, you had no contact with accused number one.
Yes.
There were no communications between the two of you.
Yes.
So at that time, he had no hold over you. Do you agree?
He did.
He did.
Yes.
In
You don't
what
have
way
to
did he
talk
have a
for him
hold
to
over
have-
you, man?
A hold over me.
Yes. In what way?
You don't have to talk to someone for that person to have a hold over
All
you.
right. Well, just explain to me. How did he have a hold over you? Over you?
I was still watching my back, even after I'd left the church, waiting for something bad to happen to me. And as long a time as it was, I was still waiting for something, anything, to happen to me.
Oh,
And it never did.
right. What did you think might happen to you?
Like he said, I thought I might die, or my life would just dry up, or I'd become useless. And I never did.
And so for a long period of time, none of those things actually materialized.
Yes.
So didn't it occur to you that what he told you is obviously not true? It never happened.
I mean, if we understand the kind of man he is, he's very manipulative. He doesn't have to constantly communicate with you to have a hold over you.
Ma'am, nothing happened for a long period of time.
Yes.
So you must have realized that what he said was not true and that those things are not going to happen to you. Not so, because they would have happened, but they didn't.
That realization didn't come full circle during the time.
Weren't you relieved that none of those things had happened to you and that you obviously hadn't been telling the truth and that he didn't have those powers over you that he claimed to have?
I was relieved, but I was still on edge.
You were still on edge.
Yes.
Were you happy that you had broken off contact with him?
I was, but still on edge.
But still on edge.
Yes.
You were relieved that you had broken off contact with the church and with him.
Yes.
And that you were no longer being raped
Yes.
every week
Yes.
and made to perform these horrible acts.
Yes.
That must have been a very big relief to you, wasn't it?
It was.
You could now get on with your life in the absence of Tim Omotoso. Not so.
Yes.
And you went on with your life.
Yes, I did my best.
You did your best.
Yes.
I would have thought that you would have never have wanted to see this man in your life again.
It's understandable to think that.
Did you not look at it that way?
I did.
Did you want to see him again?
I wanted him to apologize.
So why did you blithely accept that he had changed?
What do you mean by blithely?
Without questioning what you were told?
I did.
You did.
Yes.
So you didn't believe that he had changed, or did you?
As I said before, I wanted to believe that he had changed.
You've said that on numerous occasions. You've wanted to believe this and you wanted to believe that. Why did you want to believe that he had changed?
Because I needed closure.
All right, we're going around in circles now.
Yes.
Did you initiate your return to the church in 2013?
No.
How did that happen?
In 2015.
Sorry, in 2015. Did you initiate your return to the church?
I had been speaking to the two ladies.
Yes. One of whom
And
was
one-
Cindy, correct?
Yes. And then one evening, I received a call. I can't remember whether it was from Lusanda's phone or Cindy's phone. They called me. I didn't realize I was on loudspeaker. And the mood over the phone was jolly. They were telling me, come back. And I was telling them, I want to come back. Lusanda and Cindy were on the phone, telling me, come back. And then he was in the room. And his voice joined the conversation. And he was like to me, come back. Come back. That's how he sounded. And hearing his voice was obviously very shocking for me. But I wanted to believe that this sounds like a person who's changed. So from that phone call, the flight ticket was booked and I went.
Just only indicate if you're tired because you are occupying the center stage. If you feel tired, inform us so that we can take a few minutes. Don't wait for the tea breaks and the lunch break. If you feel tired, tell me.
Yes,
So you agreed to go back.
yes,
What did they mean when they said come back? Did they mean come back and join the church again? And come
Yes.
and play in the group?
yes,
And you agreed to do that?
yes, I did.
They wanted you to join the group again. Are we clear on that?
Yes.
And what would that entail? Where was the group based?
The group was based wherever he was.
The group moved around with him. That's what
Yes.
you're saying? From
Yes.
one city to another.
Yes,
So you just said, yes, I'll do that. I'll come back and join the group.
over the phone after
Yes.
all the conversations we had been
Yes,
having.
over the phone.
Yes, yes,
And you knew that would entail you moving around again or going from city to city with accused number one. Correct?
yes.
And would you have had to join the church to be a member of the group?
Yes,
Rejoin the church.
yes,
So you basically agreed then and there to rejoin the church and become a member of the singing group again on the telephone. Correct?
I agreed to come to Port Elizabeth. Yes,
You agreed to join the group, ma'am, not just to come to Port Elizabeth. Do you agree?
over the phone I agreed to come to Port Elizabeth, sir.
But didn't you say a few moments ago you agreed over the phone to rejoin the group?
You asked me what they meant by come back. I told you they meant come back to church and come back to the group.
Really? Yes. And
That's
you
what they
said
said.
yes.
Yes.
So
So
you-
it was not discussed. They didn't say come back to the group, Cheryl, come back to church,
But
Cheryl.
that's
They
how
said
you
come back.
understood it, ma'am. You've explained that.
Yes, I'm saying that was not said over the phone. What was said is come back. So I went.
But you knew that rejoining the group would entail joining the JDI church again.
Yes.
Correct? So would it be correct to say that when you left for Port Elizabeth, your intention was to join the group and to become a member of the JDI church again?
As I explained, sir, I did want to rejoin the group, but the main purpose was for me to face this man and get an apology from him.
Ma'am, please just answer the question. When you left for Port Elizabeth, was it your intention to join the group again and to become a member of the JDI church again?
As I just said, my intention, main intention, was to get closure via apology, and I did want to join the group again.
Ma'am, was it one of your intentions then
Yes.
to join the church and to become a member of the group again?
Yes.
You wanted to sing in the church again?
I wanted
the
to sing in
group.
the group, yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Did you tell your mother about this?
Yes, I did.
And what did she say?
She opposed my decision. She said I shouldn't go
Why?
because I knew exactly what was probably going to happen if I went there.
No, but I'm talking about why did she oppose you joining or rejoining the church?
She had been through me, through all the motions after she pulled me out the first time. So she knew exactly what effect this man had had on me, how negatively he impacted my life. So she did not want to see me try and kill myself again. She was scared of all those things happening again.
But she was unable to dissuade you, correct?
She was not able to stop me.
You were adamant you wanted to go.
Yes, I needed closure, and that's what I told her.
Yes. You tell her you needed closure.
Yes.
I see. Did she ask you for what? You needed closure?
I didn't tell her.
Did she ask you, ma'am, what do you mean when you say
Yes, she did.
you need closure?
Yes.
And what did you tell her?
I said, I just need closure, Mom.
And she left it at that.
She obviously tried to convince me. I mean, she didn't just take it lying down.
But she did not persist with asking you, what do you mean by closure?
I shut it down when she asked me. I said, I just need closure, and that's that.
And that was it. Did she ever agree to let you go?
No.
So you left without her permission?
Yes.
What did you mean then when you said in your evidence in chief that she eventually let you go?
I mean, she didn't lock the house and keep me in, preventing me from going.
You're seriously suggesting that's what you meant?
That's exactly
when you say
what I meant.
that, you say in your evidence in chief she eventually let me go.
I mean, you can only argue with someone for so long, sir.
Ma'am,
She
on
did
your
not agree to me going,
Ma'am, and I'm putting
but she
to
let
you
it
that-
happen.
I'm putting it.
Just allow to have.
Thank you.
She did not agree with me going, but she let it happen.
So that's what you meant.
Yes, sir.
All right, so you're on the plane and you got to Port Elizabeth, correct?
Yes.
Was this in May 2015, I believe you said?
Yes.
And who met you at the airport?
Lucinda and Cindy.
Was this on a Friday or Saturday? Can you recall?
I can't remember.
And were you pleased to see them? No doubt.
I was pleased to see Cindy, mostly because she had been a member of my the Grace Galaxy band, and she was my friend.
Right. Let's just pause for a moment on your relationship with Cindy. She was a very good friend of yours, not so?
I thought she was at the time,
You.
yes.
You thought she was at the time.
Yes.
Are we talking about at the time you were traveling to Durban and all over the country previously?
Yes.
And at the time you were previously a member of the Grace Galaxy.
Yes, and when I came back,
She was a member of that group as well, not so?
yes, she was.
And you regarded her as a close friend at that time.
I did.
Did you share most things with her?
No, I wouldn't say I shared most things.
Did you share intimate details of your life with her?
I wouldn't say so.
But you were close friends. Would you
Yes.
say that?
Yes.
And you spent a lot of time together.
Yes, we rehearse together, pray together. So we spent a lot of time together.
And she was present on many occasions, not present in the room, but on the premises when you were raped by accused number 1.
Yes, she was.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Why did you not see fit to tell her what was going on?
I had said in my first testimony that the survival of the group, there came a point in time where the survival of the group with him was on my shoulders. So when he was angry at the group or didn't want to rehearse with us, I was advised by my group to go and see him the way I always do. She was the one advising me.
Are you suggesting that she knew what was going on in the room?
She knew that whatever was going on in the room was making him happy and giving him, giving the group favor with him.
And do you confirm that nobody actually knew what was going on in the room?
I can't confirm that. I just can confirm that I never told anyone.
Yes. But as far as you know, as far as you know, nobody else knew what was going on in the room between you and accused number 1.
I don't know what anyone else knew. I know what I know.
All right. Let me put it this way. You don't know that anybody else knew.
I
Correct?
can't confirm that.
As far as you are aware, did anybody else know? As far as you are aware,
I don't know.
you don't know. So you don't know whether anybody else was aware of what was going on in the room. Correct?
Yes, correct.
Correct. Thank you. So you don't know whether Lusanda, accused number 2, knew what was going on in the room.
Lusanda, after I'd come back when I was 19, she would come and advise me and say, don't waste time when you go up there, as I'd explained before. So she for sure, certainly knew.
She knew.
Yes. And when I'd come back, because of this man's more brazen attitude about the way he went about living his life, some of the girls would discuss, but not going into too much detail in the house. There were discussions that it was now called an appointment. What was happening up there was called an appointment with the man of God.
All right. Okay, let's go back to Port Elizabeth. You arrive in Port Elizabeth, you meet your friends. What happened then?
And then we went to a guest house in Port Elizabeth that he had rented out for the duration of the crusade for himself and all the ladies.
What's the name of the guest house? Do you know?
I don't remember.
Where is it located in Port Elizabeth?
In Port Elizabeth, it was in a suburb.
In a suburb, not on the
Yes.
beachfront.
I can't remember, sir.
Can't remember.
Yes.
Right, so you went to this guest house, and then what happened?
And as I explained previously, I saw a lot of new faces. Lopsy, accused number 3 over here, was at the door. Her, Cindy, Lusanda accompanied me upstairs to go and see this man. And I saw him. I was overwhelmed. I burst into tears. And then he told me that he forgave me.
And in an instant you knew that he had not changed. Correct?
Yes.
He said he forgives you.
Yes.
Was there anything that he was required to forgive you for, as far as you are concerned?
No.
You had not done anything that required forgiveness.
Nothing.
Correct?
Yes.
So why on earth would the man ask you for forgiveness, man, when he, knowing full well that he abused you and there was nothing that he had to forgive you for? That's absurd.
Yes. The man is delusional.
How did you react when he said, I forgive you, and you came to the realization that this monster had not changed?
All I could do was cry. He remembers. I cried
Yes. And then what did you do?
and cried.
Yes. And after you had cried and cried, what did you do?
When I'd stopped crying, he told me that I'd be going to the service with him in his car, the white Lexus.
So how did you react to that?
I said, okay.
You said, okay, man.
Yes, I said, okay.
You agreed to go with him in his white Lexus.
Yes. I wasn't going to run out of the house at night.
So when you realized this man had not changed, you must have realized that he's going to rape you again.
Yes, as I said before, I understood that at 19, I had managed to put myself in the exact same spot that had caused me so much pain before. And that's the thing about trauma. It's very difficult to understand clearly.
Man, you knew that he was going to rape you again.
Yes, sir.
She said yes.
Thank you.
She repeatedly said she knew that when she goes to pick what Elizabeth, there's a possibility that she could be raped.
No, look, I'm talking about at the time.
Yes, she said yes.
Thank you. Man, why did you agree to go with him in his vehicle in those circumstances?
He told me that it would just be me and him in the car. And if you remember correctly, that is the time I confronted him about what was happening in that car.
Man, I'm talking about when he told you that you're going to go with him in the car. Why did you say, yes, I will go with you?
Because I couldn't say no.
Why, man? You're 19 years of age now. You're there to confront the man. You want forgiveness from him. You want him to say that he's sorry. You see that he hasn't changed. You know he's going to rape you.
It's sad to admit, he, as I said, still had a hold over me.
How can that possibly be, man?
Well,
You had broken free from the man.
not completely.
Why did you not walk out of the house then and there?
I couldn't,
Why not?
because, as I just said, the man had a hold over me.
Ma'am, your version as to what happened there and as to why you came to Port Elizabeth is beyond the realms of possibility. It's so improbable, it can't possibly be true.
Well,
I put that to you.
This is a complex case. I understand your frustration.
I'm not frustrated, ma'am. I'm putting it to you that it's so improbable, your version,
It's
that
also
it can't
improbable
possibly
that
be true and that it is not true.
it's also improbable that God will strike you dead because you're not sexually pleasing a man. But I believed that, didn't I?
So that night, did you get into his car with him?
Yes, I did.
Where was the car?
It was parked outside the guest house.
What time did you get to the guest house?
It was evening.
Evening.
Yes.
Can you give us the time, more or less?
I'm sorry, I can't.
You can't. Was it a Saturday evening or Sunday evening or Friday evening? You can't tell us either.
I can't remember that.
Did he tell you why you should travel with him?
No. He just told me that would be happening.
Right, so you went to the car and you got into the car with him?
Yes.
Was it just the two of you?
Yes.
Did he drive the vehicle?
Yes, he did.
What vehicle was it?
A Lexus.
Were you seated in front next to him?
Yes, I was.
And where did you go to?
Church.
Church. Did you have any discussions on the way there?
Yes.
What were those discussions?
He told me that I was 19 now. So, if ever I left the church, this time, my punishment would be double what it was, what it would have been when I left, when I was below the age of 18. And then I went to ask him. I don't know where I gathered those guts from, but I gathered those guts to ask him, why was it so necessary for you to do this to me? Why was that so necessary? And he told me there was no other option.
So you confronted him, in other words,
Yes, I
with
did.
what he had done.
Yes, I told him, I don't like what you did to me. I used those words. He remembers. He was there.
So you were not too scared of him to tell him that?
As I said, I gathered
Mr.
some
Oman, can you
guts.
just tell the people at the second row, the lady with the I'm colorblind, yellow thing, she must stop making comments. That lady with the bright dress,
Sis,
I don't know whether she understands you, but she must stop making comments and gestures whilst this witness is testifying.
iyacela uyeke.
The lady who seated between the two gentlemen. Can you stand up, ma'am?
Phakama, sis.
That one, yes.
Yeah, just English speaking. Your
Can you please stop commenting and making gestures, please? Yes, you can carry on, Mr. Governor.
Thank you. So you gathered up the courage to confront him.
Yes.
What suddenly gave you the courage to confront him? Weren't you still scared of him and that something might happen to you if you confront him?
I was scared of him. But as I just said, I gathered the guts to tell him how I felt.
Was that the first time that you ever told him how you felt about what he was doing to you?
No,
No.
it wasn't the very first time.
When prior to that did you tell him that you didn't like what was going on?
Before, I didn't have the guts to directly ask him about it. So before, it would be like, you know, he would say, this is our cross to bear. So I'd ask if this is really the cross that I need to be bearing. In passing, just like, not confidently. This time I made it clear, why is this necessary for you? I did not like that.
Right. So prior to that you did not make it clear to him
No.
that you don't like what he's doing. Correct? Just speak, just answer verbally please, not by shaking your head.
I didn't. I was too scared
You were too
before,
scared.
yes.
So not on one of those many occasions previously that he raped you did you protest. Correct?
Yes, I was too scared of him.
Yes. You didn't even plead with him to stop what he is doing.
I remember
that correct?
when he would rebuke me. And as I explained to you, instances where he'd have to pull me back, he would tell me that I need to keep doing what I was doing to please him and to please God.
Ma'am, you knew what was going on was wrong. Correct?
Yes,
You didn't like it, obviously.
I didn't.
You detested what was happening to you. You hated it.
Yes,
It was terrible.
Yes.
Especially in view of the fact that it was repeated so often.
Yes.
Do you agree with that?
I do.
But you never asked him, please can't you stop this? Can't we stop? I don't like this. Not once. Is that correct?
Yes. I was too scared of
What?
the man.
But why were you too scared to even ask him to stop? You could have just said to him, please, can't we stop this? I don't like it.
Please understand that he did not care how I felt. He didn't.
Did you think of asking him to stop nicely?
Yes.
You
Yes. But what he wanted was all that mattered.
did. I can understand what you say, man. This man is abusing you. He's got a certain power over you. You didn't want to confront him initially.
I was too scared.
Yes. Now you say, yes, you did think of asking him to stop what he was doing to you.
Yes, I would pray about it all the time, asking God, why is he allowing me to go through this? Why, God, do I need to sexually please this man to get a crown in heaven?
What I can't understand, ma'am, is that over this long period of time, years, over a period of years, not once did you ever say to him, look, I know you want me to do this with you, but I really don't like it. Can't we stop? Won't you just release me? I can't understand why you didn't do that, man.
He would say, even in the church, it's better to not have met me at all than to meet me and not make it. So I had no way. If I left, my life was doomed.
Why couldn't you have asked him nicely to stop?
I think, Mr. Government, we may as well at this point accept that she did it. She strung him along and did what she wanted her to do. Let us accept that she did. And she did not even raise it with him, that she was not liking what she was doing. Let's just accept it. And we can just accept her reasons for not doing so. I think since this case started, we've been dealing with that. She's been explaining that. I accept it. I accept that what you are saying is that she was supposed to have raised it. I accept that. And I accept her response that she did not raise it with him.
You accept her response why she didn't raise it?
Yes, because she's been saying it ad nauseum.
Well, I don't think you should accept what she says until we've argued the case and we've addressed it.
No, I'm saying it in the context you are talking about, that she's saying this and she's been saying it since. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. I just wanted to clear you haven't made a factual finding.
No, why should I? I've been around in this game,
No,
Mr.
I
Government, for me
understand
to make a factual finding at this stage. I can't do that. But what I'm saying is, I'm trying to curtail this. You've asked her several times, she's given the same answer. So if we can just move on.
At your request, I'll move on.
At your request as well. If you feel that you have to move on, then you can do so. But if you feel you have to pursue it, you may pursue it. So if you want to pursue it, carry on.
Thank you, ma'am.
But I was just telling you my view, that I think she's given this answer and she's not going to change. But if you feel you may probe her enough.
From her, my lord, is the following. Ma'am, you thought of asking him to stop?
Yes.
Yes. So why didn't you ask him?
I was too afraid of the man. And he did not care how I felt. I think I explained how narcissistic he is, how in his head the world revolves around him. So he did not care how the next person felt, more especially if that person is waiting on him and following his instructions when he wants to have sexual release.
Thank you. Now you've answered the question. So you went to church that evening with him, is that correct?
Yes.
And what happened in the church?
The service was full. I attended, and he made an announcement that Cheryl's back, and everyone celebrated with him. And before that, he was pressuring me, telling me that you need to tell me if things are going to go back to the way they were before, because we're going to church now. There's no time. I remember he was telling me there's no time, so you need to give me an answer so I know what to tell the children of God in the church. I don't know what he would have said had I said no, because all I could say was okay. But we got there, and he...
Okay, let's just stop there for a moment.
Yeah.
When he asked you that, you knew that what he meant was that you agree to performing those same sexual acts with him.
My response to that was, I didn't like it.
Yes, but you knew what he meant. What he was
Yes.
actually asking you was, do you understand
Yes.
that you're going to have to do the same thing again, sexually, with him?
Yes.
That's how you understood it.
Yes.
So you understood he's going to rape you again.
Yes.
It's inevitable.
Yes.
And what was your response to your son?
I told him I didn't like it.
Yes, you didn't like it.
And I asked him, why is this necessary? Why do we have to do this? And he said there's no other option.
And then, did you agree? What did you say?
After a bit of silence on my part, I said okay.
Okay. So you agreed, isn't what happened? You agreed to
I
let him...
said okay.
Yes. So you said okay, signifying...
Signifying that I said okay.
Yes. Okay, what did you mean when you said okay then, man? Let's not beat around the bush. You tell me what you meant.
I meant okay, sir.
What
That's
did that
what I meant.
mean? What did you intend to convey?
I don't think okay is a metaphor. Okay is just okay. I said okay, and that was that.
So, you agreed.
I said okay.
Did that not mean you agreed, ma'am?
I
Did
said
it not
okay,
mean
sir.
I agree? When you say okay, the man tells you this is what's going to happen and you say okay.
I said okay.
Right, so you're in the church and an announcement was made that you're back in the church, correct?
Yes.
Did you go forward? What
Yes.
happened?
He called me forward and told me to sing.
Was the group present?
Yes, the girls were there.
Did you sing with them? Or
No.
solo?
I sang solo.
Did you address the congregation?
I did. If I remember correctly, I did.
Well, can't you remember what?
If I remember correctly, I did
You
say
did?
a few words, yeah.
And what were those words?
I can't remember, but it was something along the lines of, thank you for welcoming me back into the church. Something along those lines.
Did you say sorry for leaving the church in the first place?
I don't remember that, sir.
Might you have?
I don't know.
And then what happened, ma'am?
And then I sang and I sat back down. I heard Grace Galaxy singing for the first time again after all those years. And I loved it. I loved how they sounded. I saw the twins had joined as well. It was just, they were just beautiful.
Was it a fantastic experience, the church service, for you?
I enjoyed listening to Grace Galaxy sing.
Did you enjoy singing yourself?
I didn't really feel like it, but I did it anyway. I executed it as best as I could. I can't say I really enjoyed it.
Did you not have in the back of your mind that you're going to be raped later?
Precisely.
But from your outward appearance, you didn't exhibit any fear. You carried on as normal. Correct?
Yes, I wasn't trying to draw any unnecessary attention towards myself.
Did you know a lot of people in the church?
I knew some people, yes.
Were there other pastors then that you knew?
Pastors that were under him, yes.
Pastors that were under him.
Yes.
All right, after the service, what happened?
We went back to the guest house. This time I don't remember any talking. He just played classical music in that car, and then we got to the house.
It was the two of you when you went back.
Yes.
You went back to the guest house.
Yes.
And what happened after you got back to the guest house?
I can't remember whether it was that same day or over the next few days while I was there. The same thing was happening. He called me on my phone and told me to come to his room.
And he told you to come to his room.
Yes.
Before you move on, Mr. Governor, shall we adjourn for tea?
Thank you. Well, could we adjourn until 11:30? Some
You want to?
information has come to hand that I just want to
No, it's
consult
fine.
with my clients about.
No, it's fine. It's fine, Mr. Yes, we'll adjourn until 11:30.
All right.
Kan produk apa ayo mana
Nigerian pastor Timothy Omotoso has resumed in the High Court in Port Elizabeth. Omotoso and his co-accused face 97 charges. They range from sexual assault, rape to racketeering and trafficking for sexual purposes. The first witness, Cheryl Zondi, is back in the stand this morning. For a recap on the case, we now cross back to our reporter, J. Polsa, who has been covering the trial throughout the course of the morning. Very good morning to you, Jade. We see a different stance coming from Advocate Doberman this morning. Yesterday, he was very, very fierce. He was very, very tough. Today, he still seems to be quite stern, but not so much. And we're also seeing a very emotional Cheryl Zondi in the stand today.
That's very true, Shantae. We have seen a different Doberman, cross-questioning Zondi, using words like ma'am now. That was quite a chuckle for us journalists to hear him actually saying that, because yesterday it was more stern, calling her Zondi, calling her witness, can you please answer the question? But change of heart, one could say. Just looking at the court or the trial proceedings, we saw Doberman asking Zondi several times why she returned back to the Jesus Dominion International Church after she was allegedly sexually assaulted, and she said that she wanted closure, Shantae. She wanted to speak to the man of God, the man that she saw as a father figure, and she wanted an apology, but since then she never received an apology from Omotoso. Instead, he said that he accepted an apology from her, that she could join the church again. And she also gave accounts how on that day, she went back to one of the sermons that he was given. She sat in the church proceedings. She got to speak to some of the friends that she had made in church before she went back to the mission house. She spoke to the Galaxy group that she really looked up to, their singing group. She saw the Idols twins, and all her friends at the church said, Cheryl, return, come back to church, come back and rejoin. And that is the reason why she rejoined, but mostly because she wanted that apology. She was yearning for that apology from Timothy Omotoso, and she really thought that he was a changed man. When she was chatting to her friend Cindy over the phone, Cindy said to her that, he has changed, and she really felt that if she returned, things would be a lot different. But subsequently to her returning, she spoke about how Timothy Omotoso summoned her once again to the room, and that's when we had that tea break and court adjourned. Shantae.
Now, Jay, just take us through Doberman's response in her wanting to actually go back and meet Pastor Timothy Omotoso again, saying that it was improbable that, of course, he was going to give her an apology. She also made reference to the pastor actually saying to her that he forgives her and not the other way around.
That's very true, Shantae. I mean, he was trying to poke holes into her testimony, saying that why would anyone return back to a church when you have been molested? She was 14 years at the time. She returned back to the church when she was 15, and then again when she was 19. So he was saying, why would you return back to the church if you have been molested over this period, such a long period? Why did you not stay away? And she would continue saying that, she wanted that acceptance, she wanted that apology, and she wanted to know that she could move on with her life. So it was more of her getting closure from that ordeal. He also made reference of the mission house. He said to her that in her testimony, she said that she was first sexually assaulted in 2010 at a house in Westridge and Umhlanga Ridge, but then he brought out a lease agreement by Timothy Omotoso in Timothy Omotoso's name, citing that he only occupied the house on February the 1st, 2011, which was a year later. So he wanted to know, how did that actually happen? If it really did transpire in 2010, how is it that Omotoso only took occupants of the house in 2011? And we saw Zondi firing back, saying that he could have renewed that lease agreement. So all this came to the fore. But I must make mention of the fact that the judge was also not taking anything from Peter Doberman. He was very stance in his approach, and he reprimanded Omotoso's wife Taiwo, who has been laughing during Zondi's testimony during the court proceedings. If Natasha can just show you, Taiwo was said to not laugh during the court proceedings, and she was said to not chuckle as well. And he said that he would not tolerate such behavior during the court proceedings. But we've seen that throughout the trial, Omotoso's following church congregants laughing during Zondi's testimony and, saying that she's a liar and chuckling when she would often break down in court. Shante.
All right, so thank you very much, Jade Lee Paulson for SABC News. Let's have a look at some of the early...
He told me that I was 19 now. So if ever I left the church, this time my punishment would be double what it would have been when I left, when I was below the age of 18. And then I went to ask him. I don't know where I gathered those guts from, but I gathered those guts to ask him, why was it so necessary for you to do this to me? Why was that so necessary? And he told me there was no other option.
So you confronted him, in other words?
Yes, I
with
did.
What he had done?
Yes, I told him, I don't like what you did to me. I used those words. He remembers. He was there.
So you were not too scared of him to tell him that?
As I said, I gathered some guts.
Earlier highlights of Cheryl Zondi as she continues to give her testimony. We still have SABC's Jade Lee Paulson, who is coming to us live, giving us coverage from that courthouse this morning. We've also seen the co-accused sitting next to Pastor Omotoso, and as Cheryl Zondi, the victim here in this case, who has been giving her testimony, as she gets emotional and as she refers to certain questions responding to Prosecutor Doberman, she seems to be looking at her co-accused. She seems to be also looking at Pastor Timothy Omotoso when describing what has happened to her. Just also take us through one of the sections where she actually described the co-accused taking her upstairs in the house that they were, and what she referred to being known as an appointment with the man of God.
That's very true, Shante. We saw Zondi often looking up at Omotoso, looking at the co-accused Lusando Solani and Zukiswa Sito, and also making mention of the fact of Lusanda, whose nickname is Lopsy in the house. She says that, when she was summoned to Omotoso's room the first time, she didn't know that he actually had a room. She actually thought it was actually an office where she would engage with the man of God, and that he would have a one-on-one with each lady, the 30 ladies that lived inside that house in Mklanga. But subsequently she found out that this room was where all the sordid, explicit things happened with the girls. And she said that, when she was summoned to Omotoso's room, she knew what was going to happen. She knew from the first, experience that she had with Omotoso when he told her to close the door, that the second time she went there, she knew that she didn't have to close the door behind her because this was expected of her. But she said that it was almost like she couldn't speak back to him. She was afraid, she was scared, so everything he told her to do, she would just do in sequence. Lock the door. When he calls her, go and sit beside the bed. And when he would ask her to do those explicit sexual favors, she would entertain that.
Jade, just take us through the traction that this court case has seemed to got, not only on social media, but specifically in Port Elizabeth. This morning we are seeing representatives from the ANC Women's League. We're also seeing other representatives from other various women's organizations. And of course, a lot of commentary coming through saying that they commend Cheryl Zondi for being able to speak up for possibly women that have gone through the same thing, that have not had the strength to do so themselves.
That's very true, Shante. Well, this court case has gained a lot of traction, and I think it's predominantly because when we see rape victims coming out and speaking, we usually don't have it televised. We always hide their identity for their sake. But Cheryl Zondi said in open court that she wants to give her testimony. She wants to stand in solidarity with the other women who have fallen victim to sexual abuse, the alleged abuse by Timothy Omotoso, and she wants to get her story out there. She's been very adamant about that, and she's been very, very, strong with what she wants to happen. She said that she's not going to back down. She's going to ensure that she speaks up for every rape victim, man and woman. But just looking at Port Elizabeth, it has gained a lot of traction. A lot of people have been very invested in this trial. We saw the ANC Women's League also sitting in court proceedings. The DA have also come out throwing their support behind the witnesses and Cheryl Zondi. We also saw the CRL Commission. They also in attendance today. We'll try and get a interview with her later on. And several other members of the general public also coming in and sitting in proceedings. But I must also make mention of the fact that the trial has been the security has been very tight here at the Port Elizabeth High Court. Not anyone can come and go as you please. You would have to speak to the security, speak to the Hawks if you want to have a place in court. But generally, Shante, it has gained a lot of traction on social media, a lot of traction on Facebook as well. People who are in support of Cheryl Zondi coming out and giving a harrow testimony in the Timothy Omotoso trial.
Thank you very much for giving us that update. Jadely Pulser for SABC News in PE. Currently, the Omotoso trial is on a tea break, but in the meantime, let's have a look.
not coming down, right?
All cell phones off.
It's not coming in. Okay. The judge coming in.
Yes.
Close the door.
All right.
Lord, as discussed with your Lordship in chambers, I confirm that the defence now wants to show a certain video or videos at this stage to the witness.
Aziveza apha kodwa izixhobo ezifuneka ukwenza oko azikho kuloko ke ngoku ibongoza ukudla okokuba inqumame de ibe yintsimbi yesibini kukho ne-CD anqwenela okokuba bazisike banikezele ubuso kuze zingeniswe apha enkundleni.
Application is granted, Ms. Zondi. We shall stand down until 2 p.m. as you heard that there are certain videos he wants to play. Stand up, ladies and gentlemen. Your matter stands down until 2 o'clock this afternoon. Coach Alajani.
It's not only there to just what type of speaking you have. What intention?